So I'm a soap maker. I never expected to be a soap maker. I came from a career of advertising and advising on brands and strategic planning. And I always dreamed of creating my own brand, putting my mouth where my money is. And got really sick of advising clients in bad golf shirts and watching pretty much probably 90% of what I ever worked on never get the opportunity to be produced. And so I was also that kid who grew up, I just was always craving to be an entrepreneur. I annoyed all my neighbors by selling them something new every month. I tried to turn around the school bookstore on the fruit roll-up. And always dreamed of someday of having my own brand. I did it in a very different way because I was taught a skill in advertising of account planning, which was of understanding consumer insight, right? And so most people kind of fall in love with an idea, and what I wanted to do instead was find a space that I thought was really, really ripe, and that would be the clue to dig here. So I had this idea of looking for a space to disrupt. And I was doing a project for Colgate and Old Navy at the same time. I just started looking at the cleaning aisle because it was such a big, giant category, but yet it was a complete sea of sameness. Everything looked and felt the same. And so that was kind of the clue of like, dig here. And as we dug in, realized there wasn't one, but there was multiple cultural shifts that you could take advantage. And so my theory was find a really well-established category that was easy to understand, predictable, people were already making money at it, and just find a cultural shift that they missed, and the space in between would be the thesis for the business. So we started looking at that aisle and dug in and realized there was two. And this was back in 1999, and this idea of lifestyling in the home was just starting to take off. IKEA, with minimalist Scandinavian design, had arrived on the shores of America. Domestic shelter magazines were taking off. But nobody thought about these products as the connection to your home and a place of self-expression. They're so ugly, you would hide them underneath the sink, out of sight, out of mind. But there's a second cultural shift, which was that you pollute when you clean, you use poison to make your home healthier. Like, none of that really made sense. And of course, we were living on Pine and Gough, kitty corner from Whole Foods / Whole Paycheck. And you could see the rise of health and wellness coming from a mile away. And so essentially what we did was you have to have an elevator pitch. Our elevator pitch was Aveda for the home. And what we wanted to do, and we're going to take credit for it until somebody tells us they did it before us, but we were the first company to really bring together the idea of high design and deep sustainability into a single product, and we just called it Style and Substance. There was also another opportunity, which was this idea of fun. And consumers pay a premium for fun, for what's scarce in a category, and let's face it, there's nothing more scarce than fun and cleaning. And so we also wanted to introduce like a personality that was fun and engaging in an otherwise really boring category. So that was our little thesis, and we set out to get what's called the proof of concept stage of a business. Don't ask why I'm in a lab coat or why I'm standing in the liquor aisle. We had no marketing dollars, so I had promised to do demos, but it was really my way of doing consumer research. This was at Molly Stone's just down here, and I'd run into people who I was working with in advertising like a month earlier. They saw me doing demos for a cleaning brand. Like, what happened? Like, you seem to be doing all right. So we really set out to prove the business. We built it into 30 stores here in the Bay Area and demonstrated that there was a demand for this. And so we then went on to do what's called Raise Your Series A. It's always $1 million for some reason. And we shot off our mouth saying, we needed a big national retailer. This time we were in regional grocery stores throughout the West Coast. And so we said, we'll have no problems getting a Target. They're going to love us. It's perfect for their guests, great design. The first meeting went okay. Literally, they didn't like the name. They didn't like the size. They didn't like anything about it. And the DMM, who's like pretty much the most senior buyer you can find at Target, said snowball's chance in hell. So as an entrepreneur, you kind of have no choice, especially when you took money from really big, powerful people, to keep moving forward. So we had to find a way in here. And so we did, I guess, what would be the equivalent of a Hail Mary pass. We were already starting to work with Karam at the time. I pitched him, shot him an email and just said, hey, we want to go reinvent the dish soap. Here's a chance to reinvent this object that sits on every counter across America. He got back in 15 minutes. He did take his money up front, though. But he got back in 15 minutes, said, let's do it. And so we used, basically, Karam was like a carrot to get a huge audience with Target marketing because we knew they wanted to work with him. We did a dog and pony show. We spent all of our last few dollars. to pitch a dish soap that looks like a sex toy. It worked. Target agreed with us. And we still use this as an icon of the company because it was that bold statement of design. And if we had not taken that risk and put ourselves out there, we would never have survived as a business. But we also love this because it was one of our biggest mistakes we ever made. The design was awesome, but we had very little dollars to produce it the right way. We had to do it fast. So Target gave us a 90-store test. We literally put this on the top shelf of our entire display. Target gave us 90 days to hit some pretty high sales metrics. And what happened is the fragrances were, at the time, back in 2001, pretty interesting. And so consumers would pull off the bottom to smell it in a way it wasn't supposed to come off. They'd get a little frustrated, they put it back on, and then dish soap would drip down our entire display of Method. So we spent 3 months driving from Target store to Target store with paper towel trying to clean up dish soap. But despite that, and the statement we made here with Karam is what allowed us to thrive as a business. And so we're going into 10 years later, and so we decided to write a book and share a lot of our lessons. And when we started Method, we were pretty foolish to take on not one Goliath, but 7 Goliath players. So we had to change the game as much as radically possible to survive against the likes of Clorox and Unilever and Procter & Gamble, who not only have a 100-year head start on us, but they pretty much owned that small little space at every grocery store. And so very early on, we came up with these 7 competitive advantages, but since strategy was such an overused word, we decided to call them obsessions because we felt, particularly as we scaled, we had to obsess over these things and really lean into them. So the book we published, and we're going to walk you through, is our 7 obsessions. The first one at Method is everything starts with culture. And we just believe that if you can get culture right, everything else gets easier. We need culture, and you'll see our obsessions, everything is dependent on having a great culture to support it. So if you come into Method, you can really see we obsess over it. We don't always get it right. It's probably not right today. There's days it's really good. There's days it's not as good. But it's something that we constantly work at, and we obsess over making it as good as possible. We kick off every week with culture. We do an all-company meeting at 9 a.m. We do an 8:31 remotely with our London, Chicago, and folks in the field. And then we, at 9 a.m., the entire company gathers in our lobby. We design the lobby as a public meeting space. A different person steers it. But we start off the week with sharing success stories, celebrating each other's personal and professional achievements, and just setting the tone that the entire week everything is about culture. Of course, the thing with getting culture right is who you get on the bus, as Jim Collins said. And so we take recruiting very, very seriously. It's the fastest way to screw up a startup. We do this thing called the homework assignment. And what you'll see throughout a lot of what we do is a belief in prototyping. And so homework assignment is a way to actually prototype a relationship. When we get to the interview process near the end where we're really, really in love with somebody, we'll ask them to come back and do the homework, and they're given 3 questions. Question number 1 is very strategic to the role. Question number 2 is very tactical to the role. But everybody gets the same 3rd question, which is how will you help keep Method weird? Which for us, and no, we didn't steal it from Zappos, I think just being in San Francisco, you naturally want weird as part of your organization. We want people who can put themselves out there, who can think differently, who have the courage to do that. And what we do is we tell them, look, you've got 45 minutes, the 10 people you interviewed with, interpretive dance, PowerPoint, whatever you want, just take us through these 3 questions. And it's such a powerful way to prototype how they really think, how they act, what the chemistry feel is like. And at the end of that, you don't even have to look around the room and ask, should we hire him or not? You can just tell from the chemistry in the room. We take onboarding equally seriously. So the first days, everybody starts on a Monday. We introduce them at the huddle. They usually get to explain to everybody how they promise to help keep Method weird. You get to choose your own title at Method. So in a lot of organizations, your title is your jurisdiction. It's your box. It's where you're allowed to go. At Method, you get to create your own title. So it's not up there, but we have this little title generator to help inspire. If you want to have, jockey as part of your title, you have that option. We have everybody's photos up on the wall. And we really work hard to articulate our values, but also make sure we're living them. And values are only as good as they can get into the language. So one of our values is, what would MacGyver do? Because as a small company, you want to be really, really resourceful. And let's face it, there's nobody who is more of an icon of resourcefulness than MacGyver. And it's great because you'll hear little phrases around the business like, oh, very MacGyver of you. we started the company arguably in a fraternity house. There was like 5 of us living in a very dirty flat in San Francisco. This is not the Martha Stewart story by any means. And we love doing dress-up parties, and it's still something that's part of our culture. We do a prom every year. There's a different theme, a prom committee. This was during the business portion of our meetings before the prom. And we just find that when people actually dress up and have fun, that they perform at their best. And anytime you hear like an athlete interviewed at the end of an amazing performance where they won a game, usually they'll say how fun it just was. And so we believe bringing fun into the organization is such a key ingredient to ensure that we perform at our best. One thing we did this year too is we got rid of receptionists. So everybody's job title now includes receptionist. So if you see a method job description, it'll have under their duties receptionist. And we just thought it was a great way to kind of keep that small company community. 2 people sit up front. It kind of turned into this how you can outdo each other. So people started dressing up in different themes. There was Jersey Shore Day where they made everybody do a shot of Jaeger. The poor FedEx man gets confused every day he walks in. And this is so important too because obviously we live in this incredible era of transparency, and there's a lot of things you can't control about your brand, but what you can control is who you hire and how you educate them and make them part of the culture. And so if we feel we get this right, marketing gets so much easier because we can just open the doors to who we are, and we'll never be embarrassed by what people see. Our second obsession is this idea of inspiring advocates. Like, we are going up against brands that have just incredible levels of loyalty. I mean, how many people here use Windex, of course, before Method? Probably most of you. And getting somebody to think something different than Windex is really, really hard. So we didn't want to just create customers. We wanted to create advocates, people who would help us build the brand. And this idea of people against dirty. This was a line that Crispin Porter wrote 2002 as a tagline. I was like, oh my God, it's so much more than a tagline. And so we need these people to help us ultimately build the brand because we're at such a disadvantage, of course, on our marketing spend. So I want to show you 2 videos real quick of examples of how we've done this. The first one is called Vote Daisy. I don't know if you guys saw this, but one day we received this huge cease and desist from Clorox. And they were asking us not to use the daisy. And very early on, we started using the daisy in a lot of our marketing collateral because it was a great way to show how gentle our products were. And I guess the video is going to play now, and then I'll explain it.
Hey guys, it's Eric.
And Adam.
We're Method's founders and People Against Dirty. We're here today in San Francisco with our friends, the Daisies.
This Earth Day, we need your help to save the daisy. That's right, that iconic symbol of purity, innocence, and peace. Sadly, a major corporation is claiming that they own the rights to it.
Own the daisy? That's ridiculous. Did they invent the daisy? Did they design the daisy? It's like trying to own the rights to the cucumber, the question mark.
No, seriously, they sent us this cease and desist letter saying that they own the daisy and that we have to stop using it.
So they're essentially saying, don't touch the daisies.
Even though we started using the image of the daisy about 6 years ago just to show how safe our products were because we don't test on animals.
So we just figured we'd test on our little flower friends instead.
And we never tried to own it.
No, because it belongs to Mother Earth. And since daisies can't talk, yet, we asked one of our scientists, and Fred said,
well, the results are in, and while a daisy will last 3 days in Method All-Surface Cleaner, nothing takes care of daisies better than Mother Nature.
So, since we don't have a lot of money for lawyers or parking spots, we just figured we'd ask you, the public, to decide who should the daisies belong to. Method, Clorox, or Mother Earth?
And while we'd be honored if you voted for Method, we urge you to vote your conscience.
We believe flowers belong to the planet and not corporations.
So the story I was going to try to explain before. So we received the cease and desist, and obviously battling them out on this, we'll never win legally. So we wrote this charming little letter back saying, we understand why you'd want to fight over, a symbol of peace, but it seems silly. Why don't we let the people decide? I would love to have been in the room when they got this letter back from us. And then a day later, we quickly just video camera, wrote the script, threw it up there, and a day, put it up the next day, and the New York Times picked it up within an hour. And the great thing about it was literally hundreds of lawyers, downloaded the cease and desist and gave their verdict. So we essentially crowd-surfed our entire legal. And we also realized nobody will ever sue us again because they realize we're crazy enough we'll put anything up on the internet and make marketing out of it. But what the common theme is, everything Method does, it's asking for participation, whether it's helping us with a legal battle or helping us with building the brand, we'll always ask for participation. And one other example, when Virgin America here started flying, they were kind enough to fly our hand washes around at 34,000 feet. So we decided, let's do something to celebrate the partnership. And we just didn't want to run like an ad like everybody else does. I'm like, let's actually create something that makes your experience better and ask people to help out. And as you guys know, when you fly, the airline is kind of half your experience. Your fellow passengers are the other half. And so we created this little public service announcement to help improve the overall experience on planes.
Ladies and gentlemen, Method and Virgin America would like to remind you that we are all in this together.
Flying through the air, through clear skies and bad weather, like birds of a feather, we're all in this together. Hey, talking loud, we're all in this together. Ladies spraying that perfume cloud, we're all in this together. You hogging the armrest, we're all in this together. Honeymoon is getting undressed, we're all in this together.
Hey kid, kicking that seat.
Hey guy with the 5 burritos to eat.
Hey huge booger flicker.
Hey overzealous nail clipper.
Reality stars men from Mars.
Reading like Hawkeye, sleeping like a log. Bell ringing man, 3 martini said we're all in this together. La 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 la, we're all in this together. Great for the plane, great for the planet. We're all in this together. Don't make fun of that guy in leather.
So you can pretty much find like every bad archetype on a plane. So this all summer played on every flight at takeoff, and the poor flight attendants had it memorized about 3 weeks into it. So everything we do is this idea of trying to elevate it to a bigger social mission. And the point that, within this too is like every brand has the opportunity to have a social mission. And I often use the example of Axe. Like even Axe has a social mission. It's not a noble one. It's pretty much to help young boys get laid. But every brand in it has an inherent social mission, and in a social media era, we all have to find a way to elevate it up to that. So the third is this idea of being a green giant. When we started this company, the stupidest thing we could do from a business perspective was actually make it eco-friendly. We were ahead of the wave on it, and we knew it would be a huge barrier. The second you talk to consumers about green products, nobody believed green actually cleans, and there were so many legacy issues with it, so we actually kind of always disguised it and kept it in the background. But Adam and I fundamentally believed we would never leave a legacy of harm, and Adam came from an environmental science background. And so, of course, we were going to do this. It was just the right thing to do. And we believe that green products have to come from green companies. It's the entire way you run your company. And so we're up to about 70% of all of our products now are shipped via biodiesel. Unfortunately, the trucks don't smell like French fries. I was hoping that they would. And we're big believers in this idea of progress, not perfection. So the biggest thing with the green movement is you often have to take a couple steps before you can do something really great. So we've been pushing as many things as we can into refills, but these refills are multi-layer plastic, so you can't recycle them yet. The Method ones you can mail back, and we'll turn into this really cool bag for you. But by creating this, we're able to get more vendors to see that there's financial opportunity here, and then they're partnering with us on the R&D to figure out how to make these things actually recyclable. We were the first company in America to create bottles made from 100% non-virgin plastic. So all of our cleaning and hand wash bottles, if you look carefully, there's a slight gray tint. This bottle uses no virgin plastic in it. And that was something that we spent years pioneering, but by pioneering it, we were able to open up the technology to any company can now use it today in America. And of course, we didn't stop there. We do a lot of like community days, and coastal cleanup is one of our more popular ones. For some reason, if you get people to go volunteer on a beach, our employees are more likely to do it. And so we started collecting all this plastic off of beaches, and we were like, well, there's got to be something good we can do with it because it goes right to landfills. So we actually just finished this recently. We figured out, so all that in that bin there, that's plastic that's been in the ocean that was pulled off of a beach or out of the water. We figured out how to mill it down and turn it into a new bottle. So sometime this summer, appearing at Whole Foods, we're going to start having our first bottles actually made out of ocean plastic. And so we're just a company that believes in this idea of progress, not perfection, and just keep trying new things and new solutions opening up. And at Method, this isn't hard to do because we train everybody to be an expert in sustainability, just like everybody's a receptionist. They're all experts in sustainability, and by doing that, so we have this like Ecomaniacs program, and we're constantly teaching people, and you get these cool little buttons. We're constantly teaching people, the ins and outs of it, and it becomes really easy to spot opportunities, but also be educated enough to know better of the things not to do. Our fourth obsession is kick ass at fast, and we used to just call this go fast, and then we realized we sucked at it because we kept making so many mistakes. We would have to go back to fix the mistakes, and we got really slow. So we had to learn how to kick ass at it. And our belief is if you're not going to be the biggest, you better be the fastest. And a couple ways that we've learned to go fast is rapid prototyping. We prototype everything as quickly as possible. So we have in-house everything from industrial design, formulation, fragrance. So if somebody has an idea, we can create a tangible version of it very, very quickly, usually criticize it. But we have the ability to move very fast. We have a point of view too. And there's, I mean, how many times are you in a brainstorm where somebody will say, how would Virgin do it, or how would Disney do it? And I often found people saying that. I'm like, no, we should ask, like, how would Method do it? Because I guarantee our competition is asking that right now. And we really try to make sure we have a clear point of view and that everybody is bold and isn't afraid to just ask ourselves, how should we do it? And at the end of the day, like, create products for ourselves. And if we create products that we really like and we trust for our own friends or our own families, then chances are consumers will like it too. Speed very much is speed is an ingredient of culture. So we're an open office environment. All the work we do is out on the walls, super transparent. And what's really important in this is also creating a culture that knows how to do this. Because when you have everything we do half-baked is out on the walls in the open for other people to see. And we have such a cross-functional team of people working together, like somebody who's pretty, rigid, operations, analytical, walks by and sees a really crazy idea on the wall. They need to know how to not yes but it, but yes and it, which you guys are probably familiar is from improv, where you're taught how to look at something and the human brain naturally wants to say yes, but here's why it's flawed. But training an entire organization to look at something and go yes, and here's how to make it better. Our fifth is relationship retail. So I came from an advertising background, and I had no idea how to sell a product to a grocery store. So when I started calling on buyers, all I did was treat them as clients because that's what I knew. So we'd go in and we'd try to tell them, here's how to grow your business, and here's how Method could work. So we still say at Method, like, our job is not to sell, our job is to consult and take a consultative selling approach to it. So we also realize that selling is a transfer of emotion, and we get a little weird with it. This was actually recently, we have retailers come visit us, and so Target was coming in, and we had a couple of us, I think I'm the raccoon there, dressed as furries in the elevator with like Rocky music blasting. And as they got in, as the furries, we like dressed them into a little bit of a uniform with a wig and handed them a ping pong and didn't talk to them. And then when they opened up the door, we pushed them in, and there's 100 people, the entire company, standing there with a ping pong table. And we were forcing them to play us in ping pong. And the winner, if they won, we would name a product after them. But if we won, we wanted dual placement of a product that they hadn't given us yet. And so the hard thing with this is, like, retailers expect us to keep out weirding ourselves, which is getting harder and harder. We have broken out into song in meetings. Like, we brought a mariachi band into the middle of one meeting. But it's like just showing the passion. And if you're really passionate about anything, you could sell a bag of shit, which our products are not bags of shit. They're awesome products. But it's really putting that passion and emotion out there. And particularly like advertising agencies, I'm surprised they don't do more of this. It's worked so well for us. And it also is a great way to boost the entire organization. It's clearly working because we're getting space like this. And if you read our book, this is like the wisdom that's in the book of like dress up like a furry and you can sell anything. Our sixth obsession is this idea of winning on a product experience. And I think this is an idea we very much stole from Apple, that everything starts with the product and getting the product right. And we obsess over product. And we know we can't out Clorox. We're not going to out 99.9% somebody. So we fundamentally need to make the experience better. My favorite example, this is getting a little dated, but it's still such a great example of why this is so important today, is you guys remember when Bruno came out. It's ironic we're in a movie theater. And it was the first movie to suffer a single-day drop, and we know what happened. Everybody walked out. It was a crappy product, and they tweeted, texted, and Facebooked their friends and said, don't go see it. And so in Ad Age, the movie industry had this quote of, what are we going to do about the Twitter effect? Well, make a better product. And the same is true for us. Like, you used to have to worry about one journalist. Now everybody is a journalist. And so for us, like, this is our version of marketing. It's all about getting this product right and making the product work hard for us on a marketing level. We recently, is one of my favorite examples, this is if you can't beat them, join them strategy. The kids market is brutal because it's so character and license driven. So we did this partnership with Disney, and it's funny, they gave us complete creative freedom on it. And we're like, well, it's an icon. Like, you're not going to screw it up. Like, you just got to keep it as an icon. My favorite part of the relationship was the day at launch, I tweeted out that our hand wash had sex with a mouse, and this was their love child. Disney did not appreciate it. They also said, stop calling it a mouse. They're like, it's a character. I'm like, but its name is Mickey Mouse. And they're like, no, 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 it doesn't do mouse-like things. It doesn't run away from cats. It doesn't eat cheese. It's a character. Surprisingly, they'll still work with us. My favorite product that we've launched, and if you haven't tried this, please try it, is our laundry detergent. So back in 2003, we launched the first triple concentrated laundry detergent. As you know, they're all big jugs. And it was a tipping point for the industry, and everybody switched to 2X or 3X. And so we love this idea of going up against monsters. We like finding things that fundamentally are just flawed for consumers, flawed for the environment or human health, and attack it. And so we decided the next monster was the laundry cap. And as you guys know, like, that line 1 is mysteriously really small for the size of the cap. It's hard to find. And this, of course, is done on purpose. And the problem with overdosing and using too much laundry is it's bad for the environment because we're putting way too many chemicals into it, but it's also bad for your machine, which is why all these new HE machines are starting to smell like, swamps after you use them for a little while. It's bad for your clothes because they don't get as clean because you have residue, and it's bad for your skin because that detergent rubs up against your skin for 12 hours a day. So we decided that this would be the monster that we would go after. And we had this genius idea to create a laundry pill, and wanted like this thing that looked like a giant Tylenol pill that you would just pop in. We worked really hard on this thing, and we ultimately failed. We couldn't get it to break down in cold water fast enough. But by going down this really weird road, we ultimately landed up with this little magical formula that this formula was so efficient that you only need to use about 1/4 of it that you would use Tide, works just as well, 95% plant-based, and uses no animal byproducts. And so we started figuring out, well, what else do we do with it? And realized we could just put it into a pump. And so we launched this last year, and this does 50 loads of laundry, which normally is a giant jug of laundry. So it's a thing that we're most proud of. And also a company like our size, like Procter has something like 4,000 scientists. We have 3. They're really smart, though. And this is something that we have no business being able to out-innovate them on, but by our innovation model and kind of following these obsessions, it's allowed us to really crack some big things. And then our last obsession is design-driven. And as you guys know, we're a very design-driven organization in everything we do. And when we went to write the book, we saved the design chapter as the last chapter. Because we're like, we got to end the book on a good note, and design is something we're really, we feel we're pretty solid at. And then we went to go write it. We realized everything we talk about design, we already talked about, because as you can see, like, it's just woven through our entire organization, our culture. So we're big believers that design starts at the top. At our leadership team, we've got creatives who sit there as peers to our CFO. But I really have nothing more to share with you on design because it's part of everything we do, from how we think about the culture to the office environment to prototyping to speed. And fundamentally, we try to ask everybody in the company to act and think like a designer. There isn't one cool little floor that's a design floor. The entire company is really set up to be a design floor. So with that, thank you for listening to my adventures on soap. Thank you so much.